So today's Japanese slang phrase is one of my favorites that I've encountered in a while, and it's the incredibly poetic "桜に攫われそう," or as though they will be carried away by cherry blossoms. Now this delightful, unique turn of phrase is one that is associated with the BL or boys love fandom, and while the exact origin is unknown, it is thought to have first mainly arisen in use on the 801 board of 2chan, which is centered around, well, fandom of BL media, etc., being a common haunt of fujoshi and the like in the early days of the Japanese internet. Now, this term initially was used to refer to a specific type of character within BL manga, specifically one that Newman describes as having traits like being pale or sickly, doing a lot of self-sacrifice, being quite slender, potentially having some kind of mental issues or struggles, pretty in the kind of gentle sense, dressed in white or having white hair, white eyes, or in some cases, someone that people expect to or know to either disappear or die in the story. In this rather poetic use of this poetic phrase, you can see this phrase used to describe characters drawn by the famous Japanese anime artist Hirai Hisashi, with the author noting that they have this sort of transience to them. Indeed, the word hakanai, or ephemeral, transient, not long to last, is often used in describing what kind of characters are Sakura ni Sarawara So. Now, according to the aforementioned Newman, the exact spawn date of this phrase is unknown, but they attribute it to about 2014, or at least state that that's the date that it became very well known by fujoshi, BL fans, etc. Google Trends has no data for this phrase, but minimally on Twitter I can find posts using it going back to 2010, which describe the phrase not as something new, but as a well-known BL phrase that people are kind of tired of. So I'd actually say it's quite established a bit before 2014 than indeed before 2010. Backing this up is this 2009 question answer from Yahoo Chiebukuro, where someone asks what the phrase means, and someone else replies, oh, this takes me back. This reminds me of a post on 4chan's 108 board that I mentioned earlier. So if this person in 2009 is remembering a discussion on 2chan about phrases people were tired of back then, the phrase had to be in use by, say, the mid-early 2000s at the absolute latest. As the term's popularity has increased, though, the meaning of it has expanded beyond just the realm of BL and the BL uke. Traditionally, the Sakura ni Sarawara So person was the uke or the bottom in a BL relationship, and the entire phrase is said to be based off the idea that, although this hasn't happened as far as anyone knows in a specific manga, that they would be sort of trapped in these cherry blossoms, and the seme or the top would reach out to try to grab and say, oh, I was so worried I felt that the blossoms were going to blow you away. 24, though, it's quite possible for people to be Sakura ni Sarawara So without being an uke or having anything to do with boys' love. For instance, this person here compares two actresses, saying that one has the Sakura ni Sarawara So type, and the other one, quite amusingly, is someone who would cut through Sakura in order to accomplish what they want. Indeed, people are even just memeing on it now. This person, for instance, describes a steak as though it would be carried away by the cherry blossoms, and it does not mean the steak is sickly or thin or beautiful. It just means that they're going to eat it really fast. So the phrase is linked to that ephemeral, that hakanai nature now, more than necessarily a specific media type. Indeed, there's even a new fad, which is of course linked to the BL world, but not necessarily restricted to it, where you take the plushie of your oshi and take a picture of them under a sakura tree and use this phrase. No, the plushie is not actually being taken away, you've got a hold on it, but it's in the tree, and so the meme is being used in that context. Interestingly, in 2023, someone on Twitter, who you can see here, came up with the phrase, it looks like they are coming in on the waves, as a potential taigigo, or antonym of this Sakura ni Sarawara So phrase, attributing the creation of this phrase to one of their mutuals on Twitter. This popped off, as you can see by the numbers here, it went extremely viral, and while I won't say it's spread throughout the entire internet and super popular now or anything like that, people are using it. For instance, in this tweet here, you can see someone comparing the taken away by the cherry blossoms type to the came in on the waves type, who is, confident, cool, and the opposite of the sort of sickly, pale, and soon-to-be-gone image you saw before. Not hakanai, but hakanakunai, if you know your conjugations. There are other phrases that are used kind of in the exact same way. None of these are as popular, but all of them have that nice poetic ring that you saw earlier. For instance, himawari batake de miyushinai so, or as though I will lose vision of them in the sunflower fields. Yuki ni magirete kieso, or as though they will disappear in the snowfall. Yuyake no umi ni tokete shimai so, or as though they will melt into the ocean lit by the sunset. All of these are gorgeous, and I confirm that all of them have been in use since at least 2018. Here's a post using two at the same time, but none of them are as popular as well known as the Sakura one. So if you're into BL, or if you're just into an oshi who's a bit pale, frail, beautiful, ephemerate, etc., this is a term that you can use to describe them and sound a bit more poetic doing it. And Wait a minute, I'm kind of pale and skinny and frail looking. What's that? No!
Ah!